So thank you for taking the time today. So my name is Mikal. I'm from the DMV. I live in New York. And I do photography as a hobby. And so this is part of my personal photo project. And basically, I'm looking at the way that language interacts with identity and specifically looking at the word Habesha and how that word interacts and is used by Eritreans and Ethiopian. Now, I've had a lot of people say like, "Oh, I'm not sure if I know enough to talk about this," but like, it's really about you just talking about your experience. So there's no like right or wrong answer. We're just having a conversation. So yeah, that's an intro. Let me know if you have any questions.
Oh no, I'm good to go. I'm 28 years old. I was born in Eritrea, 94, but then I moved here when I was 5 or 6 years old.
Okay.
And been in DC ever since. Currently at the moment, I work for DC government. I help run the city's tennis program. That's like what I do as far as a day-to-day basis. Trying to think of what else to say. I still do photography as a hobby. I
Okay.
haven't really worked on any major projects though. Um, yeah, I don't know. That's like a little short little intro of me.
So what age did you move to America?
I think I just turned 6 when I moved here.
Okay, and you came straight here?
Straight here.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was tough because at that point I couldn't go to kindergarten or anything.
Yeah.
I was tossed into first grade, and being a first grader who didn't know English was really rough. And then they put me in ESL. Um, but yeah, I think I was the only Eritrean kid in the school. In fact, like only East African kid too, which is kind of odd for that particular like neighborhood.
Yeah.
But it
In
was
Columbia Heights?
in Columbia Heights, or that particular school. Yeah, Meyer Elementary. I remember everyone who was in ESL was Latino, and I was the only black kid there.
Do you identify as Habesha?
For the longest time, no, and I still have like some. I'm not gonna say beef with the word, but
Yeah.
like I feel like all my life in DC, I only heard Habesha from other people who weren't Ethiopian or Eritrean or anything. And then like growing up with Eritrean parents who had to go through like the war, they only wanted to be identified as Eritrean,
Mm-hmm.
and not put in the category where Ethiopians were included. Um, so I think like growing up with them and hearing their stories, I was like, oh, I'm Eritrean. I'm nothing else. That was also kind of confusing because growing up in DC, specifically like the DCPS system, I didn't run into any Eritreans. It's kind of wild. I only had like Ethiopian friends, and they weren't like, I'm not gonna say they were fobs, but they were like newly entered into the country, Ethiopian. So we connected on some level, but not entirely on a personal. I don't know if that makes sense.
So, like, how does that impact the way you see yourself as part of like the Habesha community?
Yeah, because I was like, I'm Eritrean, but I have more Ethiopian friends than I have Eritrean friends. I'm all about like the idea that borders aren't real, cultures are real, ethnicities are real. Different groups of people can have different values and ideas, but I still think they can coexist. And I was thinking that Eritrea and Ethiopia could do that, with the idea that, yes, sure, we don't share the same language, it's very similar Semitic language, but nevertheless, like, we're African, then they were black at the end of the day. So I don't think I've completely adopted the idea that I'm Abishai quite yet, because again, growing up, all my friends were either Latino or black,
Right.
and if they were from Africa, it was like they were Ethiopian. Why I am Eritrean, I'd say my identity is just black. In the sense of like, I grew up with just black folks, like I'm not gonna say regular black folks, but like black folks that live in America, like African American. So yeah, a lot of identity.
Where do you think the word Habesha came from?
I honestly have no idea. But to be fair, again, like only heard other people say Abisha, not Ethiopians and Eritreans, until like I started hanging out with Ethiopians and Eritreans.
Did you ever hear it in Eritrea?
No.
So it's when you came to the DMV.
Yeah. And I will say like the people in the DMV, not our generation, but the older generations were very explicit with like what their identity is. Like, I mean, the war is fresh. Like we only got independence in '93, and then there's still like border war that happened. A little tension there, but exclusively, I'm not exclusively. Like I only heard Abishat through other people who were just like black, white, Or
Black or white?
yeah, unfortunately. All
So,
the same people. My only access to Eritrean culture was like through my parents. I didn't grow up with any Eritreans. Beyond like church, and then I stopped going to church when I was super young. So
yeah.
again, like the only Eritreans I truly knew was my parents or my siblings. I guess it is kind of isolating to be in that sort of scenario, but it was just
No,
how I
I
brought
mean,
up.
it's interesting because it's like that was my experience growing up in the DMV too, but it's like there's so many of us that you think it would be easier to connect.
Yeah. Like the younger generation, they're so much nicer than like people who are, I guess, like 40 and up now. Like growing up between like 11 throughout like high school or till well into like my mid 20s. People who were like the same age. I'd come up and like, oh, I'm Ethiopian, Eritrean, like, oh, we're homies, blah blah blah. And then I started hearing the word Habesha. Then like more often, like well into my mid 20s,
So,
from
like,
other Ethiopians.
from what age? From early 20s?
I guess I started having more intimate relationships with people who were Ethiopian and Eritrean at that age. It was beyond just like, oh, we just see each other every day. Like, oh, we hang out, we're friends, we talk.
Like, what was happening at that time? Like, how did you meet so many Ethiopians you became close with?
Started going out more. Started to participate in just parties, I guess. I don't know.
So, because you have this community now, you are identifying more with Habesha.
I think so, yeah. I mean, it's an all-encompassing term. I can see why, like, my parents or people who are older than me who've had to go through that tension between the two countries understand why they want to only identify as either Ethiopian or Eritrean solely, but we haven't had to do that. I mean, we're still dealing with our own issues, like part of diaspora, but I think we're a lot more connected to each other than we've ever been. Through social media, through just like regular meetings just like this, that definitely helped us like kind of bridge that gap. I'm like, oh, at the end of the day, we're just very similar to we and that it's at the end like it doesn't really matter.
Okay, so like you said you're not sure where the word comes from, but like, do you have any idea? You have no idea?
Where is it from? Do you know?
I don't want to influence the conversation.
Habesha.
But then, like-
Habesha, is it Habesha? No, wait.
Uh,
Like growing up, I knew like I'm not supposed to like Ethiopians, but
yeah.
yeah. They don't think about that at all. Yeah, they probably don't even know that there was a war.
No, come on.
Yeah, actually, that was stupid.
That's absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
What? Like, when you see a group of Habesha people, do you introduce yourself as Habesha?
I say I'm Eritrean still.
And then you said, like, you identify as Black first. Can you expand upon that?
I mean, to be real, in America, you are either Black, white, or Hispanic. That's just how people see you. They don't really truly care about your identity. Like even knowing that there's little Ethiopia in the city or little pockets of other cultures, it's like, oh, you're either Black, white, Asian, or I don't know, Hispanic. There is no other identities, or they just don't care to learn about your identities.
Why did your parents move here?
Better opportunities. Avoid Sawa. I know it's a 2-year conscription, but they keep you longer. Everyone in my family was no more, and my mom didn't want to keep me in that environment.
Yeah. What would you say is like your political upbringing in terms of like the Ethiopian Eritrea? Like, what were you taught to believe about the governments or the political situation?
Oh, 100% was taught to praise our Lord and Savior Isaias Afwerki until I found out that Eritrea is considered to be the North Korea of East Africa, and I was like, what the hell? Started questioning things in high school. I took like I forget what the project was, but I somehow it was something to deal with like journalism, and I think I won the World Press Freedom Index thingy. And they're like, Eritrea has only one state media, only one newspaper, and I was a little surprised by that. Started doing my own research, and we had the same president at that point, almost 20 years. He think we need a revolution in Eritrea, but that's very ignorant of me to say, because with any revolution or any change, people will die, and someone who's living in the diaspora who is not going to be truly affected, besides like again family members who still live there getting hurt, like I truly can't say what we need. I feel like only the people of Eritrea that live in Eritrea right now can truly have a say in what they want. But I don't think the current situation is helping us at all.
So would you say like at this point you identify like more American?
100%. I'm more Black than American.
But like more American than Eritrean?
Oh yeah, I don't see myself ever going back to Eritrea. It's not safe. I don't think your American passport will save me there. Like, I'm very vocal online about Eritrea and being black and then getting stuck in another country. Like, this government's not going to do anything for you. I think we've already seen it. We're there with that in Russia. If I were to go to Eritrea, which is very unlikely, and if I were, I'm not saying like they're checking up on me, but it's still like, just a little fear, like, oh, like if I put this out, does Eritrea have like an office where they track everybody, track the diaspora? And then a lot of my family are like refugees from Eritrea. Like they like, I'm not gonna say they fled because I don't know the exact situation how they got out. They could have just like flown somewhere else and then declared refugee status, which my aunt did. My cousin is doing now. A lot of people are coming over now. My grandma just came. They granted her a visa. Just
Congrats.
yeah. You've lived in Eritrea all your life. That's your identity. Like you've gone through the war and seen like what it's done to your family. I don't expect my mom to give up all that belief suddenly. Other people in my family also got hurt by the war, and you just can't suddenly say, "Oh, now we're good now." For so long, if you ever try to snuff out Eritrea and their identity, and it's perfectly reasonable to think that my mom or anyone else would feel like they needed to hate it forever. Had I been in the same boat, I think I'd be in the same position.
Then, like, in terms of talking about identity, do you ever talk about like being Habesha or?
No, it's never been a topic. Like we are Eritreans. Mama has a tattoo of Eritrea on her arm.
So, like, when you came to America, basically, you just like completely unplugged from Eritrea.
Yeah, I felt like it. Did go to church for a while though. That was every week. But then I stopped going at like 11 or 12.
You're my first person that's born in like over there.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, okay, you're making me rethink how I'm gonna frame questions
Okay.
for like people of different backgrounds. With the term Habesha, like have you heard of any like disagreements over the word or controversy, discussion?
Kind of, sort of, like on the interwebs and on Twitter. A lot of people were equating it with like Latinx. I think it was the idea that not everyone agreed to being called that, which I feel like a lot of people in Eritrea don't agree to be called. Again, this is only my interaction. Didn't agree to be called Habesha, and so some people on the internet were saying very similar things. My mom goes back all the time. Everyone in my family went back at some point to like 2 years ago or something. I haven't had the chance because I've been in school and I work full time.
Moving more into like media now, it sounds like you're on social media fluent.
Yeah.
So like when you think about even common social media accounts, is it like things you can relate to?
To a certain extent, because I don't think I had the traditional Eritrean raising up. I don't know what the word is.
Upbringing.
Upbringing.
Yeah.
Yes. No, English is hard because. Yeah, I ate injera all the time, but most of the time I ate spaghetti because it was quicker to make. And then my mom was working all the time. And my mom and aunt raised me and my 3 siblings. So we were unsupervised a lot of times, and then our friends were mainly black. And I can say that for them too, like for my siblings, like all their friends are just black.
I think there's an idea that there's also a way to look Habesha, and I'd like to get just like what you think about that. Like, do you think that there is a way to look Habesha? Have you noticed a trend in like who is more or less represented?
You gotta like push the hairline back at cranium. Look, I don't see anyone wearing the traditional. No one's wearing gabi. No one is braiding their hair a certain way. It's very evident in jewelry, though, because everyone's wearing their mother's jewelry and I guess Habesha themed tattoos. Not Habesha themed tattoos, but just like a lot of Tingdinians. Not everybody's got swag now. It's kind of tough. Is that what you meant by the question?
I think it's interesting that you interpreted it that way. I think more like, I'm trying to make this as objective as possible, but I do think that in like Salam Central and Bona Time, you can see that it's very much like focused on either Amharic or Tigrinya. Usually Christian. There's not much like Muslim representation, and then among women specifically, it's usually light skin, olive eyes, curly hair. Yeah,
no,
so
I
like
keep that. I'm sorry. Yeah, but I wonder if that's like some own agenda, or if they were influenced by like American culture to like the light skin over the dark skin like person or anything like that. And Muslims are not ever represented anywhere, which is kind of ridiculous, especially on pages like Salam Central and Luna Time, given that Eritrea is about like 50-50, like Christian, Muslim, maybe with like a percentage here and there of other religions or identity groups.
I also think it's interesting that you said that, like, maybe like the colorism was influenced by America. Like, do you not
Yeah.
think there's colorism back home?
Oh no, I've never thought of that. I always thought colorism was a thing pushed on us by like media here and never like back home. Just reminded me of something. My grandma came here not too long ago. She doesn't speak English at all, and all she does, she's very old. All she does is watch YouTube videos of Eritrean comedies, and they just showed all the ads within the show, and then the show started again. And one of the ads was like a scrub that made your skin lighter. That was an Eritrean ad. So colorism is well and alive now. It's like the word we use to describe like dark skinned people, like baria, which means slave.
Yeah.
But it's like an endearing term for someone who's dark skinned. Like my mom was like, "Oh, it's because you're named after Yamani Baria." But I'm truly the only dark skinned in the family. I mean, other people are.
And so you've been called Baria.
Yeah. It was like it was a cute nickname. Like growing up, my mom stopped saying it after a while. But she's also lighter skinned, and everyone in my family is lighter skinned. My siblings are brown skinned. Come to a reckoning right now. I don't have these conversations. I don't talk about it. Our love lives in DC. No, it is truly colorism.
No one's being malicious, but I just like,
Yeah.
I think language is important in how you understand like yourself in the world, and people need to be like, more intentional about the language that they use.
No, it's so ingrained in our culture. Yeah, my mom says I have the good hair all the time because it curls up. So curly. It's really good hair. I'm like, it's just hair at the end of the day.
When I think about Habesha people, I do think about like just like brown skin, curly hair, almond eyes, like the most stereotypical. But I think
That's true. Yeah, sorry, continue.
yeah, it's just like, and that's evident in the when you look at Ethiopian Airlines, if you look at Soham Central, Habesha, or Buna Time, any like Habesha like popular page only really shows people who look like that,
Yeah.
which I just think it's interesting. And I think also coming from the perspective of Eritrea, it's like I do think it's like important to acknowledge our ties with Ethiopia. But I think like what is the purpose of a word that is meant to unite us when like no one necessarily see, this is why I didn't want to talk because my bias is already coming through. Not no one, but some people don't feel like that word is inclusive of their identity.
Yeah.
Some people don't want to use it, but it's a word tying us together even though we're legally separated states.
Can we just make a new word?
Why do we even need a word, right? Like I think like a good example is maybe like Austria and Germany. Like they both speak German. They both pretty much have the same culture, same everything, but guess what? They're in Austria and they're in Germany and they respect that. Versus I think I've been very much put in situations where it's like, oh, it's just better to say you're Habesha than to say you're Eritrean if you don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, why is my default to not state what I am?
Yeah.
Like that's weird to me.
Is it you don't know that who the person identity is? Who the person asking you that question identity is?
Yeah, because I mean, I grew up on the West Coast. I was in Seattle, which is like very Eritrean, and then I came to DC, which is very Ethiopian.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was like always saying I was Eritrean, and I was getting a lot of weird reactions from people. And then my aunt was like, "Yeah, just say you're Habesha," and I was like, "What is that?" And she couldn't tell me. And so like in my head, I've always been like, what is this word? And then like similar to you on Twitter, people would be like, this isn't inclusive of my identity. Like, I don't like this word. And I'm like, what is this word? Like, why do we use it? What's the purpose of it? Why can't I just say I'm Eritrean and you're Ethiopian and we just know that we have a close connection, you know?
I will say whenever I go to Ethiopian restaurant and they like peep me and I'm not speaking Amharic because obviously I don't want to speak Amharic, they ask like who I am or where am I from, and I'm just like, I'm from Eritrea. And then the first go-to is like, feels like it's a very like canned line, like that every Ethiopian knows in DC, like, oh, we're all the same.
Bro, I know, yeah.
If we were all the same, we wouldn't have had that war. Albeit, like, like, we're all black at the end of the day. I think that's, again, like my top identity if I had to stack identities.
That's why I want to have this conversation with both Eritreans and Ethiopians, because obviously the word is meant to describe us both. And like, as an Eritrean, the project is going to come from my perspective. But I mean, we're the same conversation, like even amongst Ethiopians, like there's people who don't speak Amharic. They'll be like, I'm Ethiopian, but I'm not Habesha. And then there's obviously Eritreans who are like, yeah, like my family died, so I can call myself Eritrean, versus others who are like, well, I have a lot of Ethiopian friends, so like I'm Habesha.
I have literally more Ethiopian friends than I do Eritrean friends, and I think I can count on one hand how many Eritrean friends I've made in DC in life.
I agree. Like people will say there are a lot of Eritreans here. I'm like, it's Ethiopia.
No,
It's
the
Ethiopia.
Eritreans again are in the suburbs. They're always in Moko. So it's only really tension with Ethiopians who are newer to the country. Because let's say I meet an Ethiopian in like St. X or something. Um, More than likely they grew up in the US or any other country and they're chill and they have no qualms about me being Eritrean or no being for it. No real like they don't choose sides or something. It's just like I'm just a product of my country and I'm here and what happened happened. Like they have no idea what to say about it. But if I go down 9th Street and visit little Ethiopia and these are all people who grew up in Ethiopia or who just came to the country and I say I'm Eritrean, again, you get that canned response. It's like, oh, we're all the same, da 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 da, but I'm Ethiopian. We're the same, but also I'm Ethiopian. I'm not saying the diaspora is better, but I think we're just more open to ideas. Especially being part of the diaspora, I feel like you are more inclined to go seek your own people. And your own people don't only have to be where you're from. It could just be like, oh, an East African collective. Still debating whether or not Habesha is like the right term to call myself. Because I'm Eritrean, so.
It's so funny. I feel like people have been leaving these interviews like, damn, now I don't know if I should use this term.
Yeah. It's good to have these conversations. I never.
And it's like, I'm not trying to say whether we should use it or not, but I think that we should have the conversation because I think people have a lot more thoughts on it than they think.
I happen to have a lot of people who are Oromo.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Do they identify as Habesha?
I have no idea. They definitely identify as Oromo. That's an exploited group in Ethiopia.
That's what I'm saying. It's interesting that your friends are mostly Oromo because I feel like the Oromos I know don't identify as Habesha.
Yeah. No, they're well. I never had that conversation with them. We don't talk about our identities, even though they're my closest friends.